The Danish foreign minister says talks went well, but the dispute over Greenland is still not over this morning. The United States, Greenland, and Denmark have started diplomatic talks to work on resolving a crisis over President Trump's push for the U.S. to gain control over that island and territory. The countries are trying to address the United States' concerns about security while also respecting the territory's red lines. The president has repeatedly called for the U.S. to have control over Greenland for months now, and he sat down with NewsNation's Katie Pavlich to explain why Greenland is so important.
It's located in such a place that is literally so important for national security. When you come to Russia, when you come to China, a lot of Chinese boats, a lot of Russian, ships, military ships. It's in a location that is very important for our national security.
For more, I'm now joined by Alice Rogoff, founder and publisher of Arctic Today and co-founder of the Arctic Circle Assembly, an international network focused on the future of the Arctic and the planet as well. Alice, a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to get to the piece that you just wrote for the Washington Post in a moment, but first, let's just start with these diplomatic talks. President Trump isn't backing down. People of Greenland have no interest. Where do you think these talks take us next?
Well, I assume that diplomats know how to word things that make both parties feel like they've gotten to a good place. There won't be any sovereignty changing hands over Greenland. That's clear as day. But I do think there are ways that the U.S. can have the degree of control it wants over the defense installations it wants to build there. And I have every reason to believe that patient diplomacy can make that happen.
And you wrote this article saying that the United States doesn't need Greenland to be secure, but to instead actually start building a security fortress in Alaska. In it, you say Greenland is not in a good position to protect U.S. from missiles launched from Asia. What are you seeing that the White House isn't here?
I'm looking at a globe, which few of us do anymore, for one thing. And when you do, if you start at the top, at the North Pole, and you move out in a circle, you will see that the Arctic Ocean has two entrances and exits, and only two at the moment that are ice-free, or at least ice-free now in summer. One is over the top of Greenland, between Greenland and the UK and Iceland, and the other, on the exact opposite side of the circle, is the western coast of Alaska, which, by the way, is as long a coastline, practically, as the U.S. East Coast from Maine to Key West. And on that western coast of Alaska, which faces Russia, there is virtually no infrastructure of any kind, let alone defense.
I know that Republican Senator from Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, warned that the United States is completely underinvested in Alaska. Is there concern that we aren't prepared if there were an attack there?
We are absolutely concerned. We're actually concerned at the moment for a reason having to do with the safety of the environment, believe it or not. I don't know how many people today remember the Exxon Valdez, but there was a massive oil spill that came out of a ship that ran aground in Prince William Sound, Alaska, and it took decades to finish the cleanup. Right now, we have tankers going through the Bering Strait on the west side of Alaska with absolutely no equipment there should anything go wrong in any of those tankers. Think about this. In the last year, there were over 600 ships crossing through this tiny, narrow Bering Strait on the central western coast of Alaska with no resources in case of something bad happening. At the same time, militarily, Russia and China have had joint military exercises off the coast of Alaska. Fighter jets continually flying in formation up to American airspace and occasionally even maybe brushing up into American airspace. So in terms of the threat and the long-term exposure to potentially bad actors, there's much more to think about in Alaska right now than there is in Greenland.
Curious, have you heard from anybody from the current administration about your piece or your pitch here to start in Alaska instead?
I have heard from many people who have reason to agree with me because they know the picture on the ground and the military interest, but I have not heard from this White House.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.